Hey everyone, we're getting started here. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Hey Joe, you too. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Hard to believe this year is over, basically over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to go by fast. Oh, I got it. Yeah. How you doing today, John?
Good, and you?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Forward to some good food and some fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and unfortunately, I can't share it. But I'm helping that local restaurant, and a while ago I forgot about it. A while ago I turned on Google. I turned on I got this alert for I manage these people. They don't have a home computer or anything. They're very low tech and they barely speak English. So I basically taken over stuff and didn't even tell them. I mean, they know I'm doing it, but they don't know what I do. So anyway, so for their Google page, I post pictures of their food and I answer questions and thank people for a few this and that. And there was a button that said turn on call history, but their phone's not through Google at all. So I'm like, whatever, I'll turn it on. And then I just was happening to go in now and look at it. And I'm like, I can see now. I don't know if it's every call, if it's just calls made the people use the link from Google to call that. I don't understand how Google would have this information.
Yeah.
But I had 45 phone numbers of people that have called, or it looks like. So it was really interesting. And I was just looking and going, okay, how am I going to automate getting this?
Yeah,
and then
there's a call button in Google when you search for any commercial organization. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it probably is just that. But I'm like, wow, that's a lot of calls. People are using that then because this was just December. And it's not a busy, a big restaurant. But so then I'm going to take those phone numbers and run them through an API, and I should be able to get the names and addresses, because then we can, do some targeting and look at frequent customers, get an idea how often they're calling and offer them, deals or something.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's just an example of
Big Brother knowing everything about you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good marketing opportunity.
Yeah. So until we get people here, and granted it's Christmas Eve, right? So who knows if
Yeah, maybe it will be quiet. I'll just say hello to people on the Google channel.
Yeah,
where is it here?
I was gonna ask you. So
let me just close my computer, my speaker, because there will be echo. Okay.
Yeah. I killed mine. Yeah.
A 45-second echo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is good, because that way you can have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah. You have to talk during 45 seconds and listen to the other doing. Yeah.
It would be quite comical. Yeah.
Active listening.
So I was working on my email to remind people for this call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in it, and I know you've seen how I use QAP to have HTML for my web pages, for my banner, for my newsletter. And then it dawned on me, because especially before I do the newsletter, I go and pull, which I also need to automate more. I've automated it some, but I go to Udemy and get my list of people who have bought in whatever month, and then count how many courses they bought. And if they bought more than one, then I put them in a little thank you signature, right? Mm-hmm. But what I usually do, in this, is oh, hey, and often whenever I'm sending out any sort of email, I'm like, hey, let me add that as as part of my signature. So I go back to my HTML and find the file and copy it and paste it. But what dawned on me is if in QAP, if I could have a reference, if I could save that part of my PS signature as an HTML file that I just update regularly, and then in QAP, I have a link to say, hey, go read that file and put it in, in memory on the clipboard or something, then I could shove it into whatever email I'm doing at that time. Mm-hmm. So that way it's sort of dynamic, as I, occasionally update that file, I don't have to go and find where I did it. I still have it in QAP and I can reference it. Does that make sense?
I see.
That's why I was wondering if there was a way in QAP to do something. It doesn't have to be that approach, but just, is there a way to have it pull in something from a file or have it dynamic?
Yeah, there are external shared menus that are favorites that are stored in an external file that could be anywhere on your own computer or on a shared drive or a Dropbox, a cloud folder. You could have your snippet favorite in this menu. Would it be associated to a hotkey or a string or just called by from the menu?
I'm not sure I understand. I would be pulling it from the menu. Yeah, because I wouldn't use it that often.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's tricky because the short answer is no, not as you described, but there could be a way to get to what you want if it's not too many clicks. So we would have to try to see.
Oh, actually, I know
that.
Yeah. Now, again, this is, well, we can go the QAP route and talk through your solution, but I just realized I can write an AutoHotkey script and refer to it, and that way. So I got my solution now. I just I reference that script. Yeah.
You create an application favorite and for this AHK file. Yeah.
So what were you?
It's to create. Would you share your screen? I'll show you how to do that.
Oh boy, hold on a second. I had all those phone numbers up on my screen. Like, yeah, not that. I mean, it's just phone numbers, no names, but
yeah. But anyway,
let me keep closing stuff until. I also was getting into the Udemy stuff and looking at API traffic, so I don't have to go manually download a CSV file. In order to get everything, I have to log into Udemy, go to a certain page, click a button to say export as CSV, change the email address to say, hey, send it, because I don't know why it uses the one I signed up with years ago that I don't even have anymore. I can't change it. It's like locked in there. And then click a button, and then it'll send me a link that I can then go download. But for some reason in Chrome, it doesn't download it, so I have to use Firefox. It's ridiculous. So I'm like, well, the content's there. If I could iterate over each page, I could just grab it. So I was working on that. Anyway, so I'm sharing. What am I doing?
Okay. Open the customize window. Go in your menu, your snippet menu, where you would like to have this entry to be added.
Yeah, I'd probably put it here under AUTOHOTKEY. Yeah.
Okay. Add a shared menu, the third before the end. Yeah. Give it a name. And enter the file location where this file will be saved. So if you want to edit this file manually, put it somewhere that would be convenient to edit this file.
Hold on 1 second. I think I have it in my, because I actually created one. I'm looking in my.
Yeah, we will create a new file, but it could be at the same location where your current file is.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, under the shared tab, you would select personal. Just because you will not share this folder with anyone else, so just for you. You could use it on two. You could use it on two computers. Okay, and there will be conflict checking between these two computers if it's save on one and not, or change on one and not save, etc. But yeah, so add. Oh, did you? It has to be an ini file. Yeah. So change the name of the file and put the extension ini. Yeah. It will be created.
Okay.
And enter in this submenu. So the first item, you could move it elsewhere if you prefer later. And there, create a snippet. So add snippet. Give it a name again. It could be the same name.
That's all right. Well, I won't mind the typo.
Yeah, and enter any text. Just for a test. Yes. Okay, and add and save. So now if you open your menu, you will see in the sub menu where you have your snippets.
Oh, hold on, let me
yeah,
because I'm going to want to be able to paste, right? So let me test.
Yeah, so you have one more. You have to open a sub menu because you don't have your entry directly. It's the only item in a shared menu called Udemy Test. So you click it, it will paste the content. So now this file could be changed at any time. Okay, the ini file could be changed. So you could open this ini file. It's structured like a settings file. So it's not only the text, there's something before and after your text, but you could just change your text in this file. So your text starts at any text, on line 2. So as I told you, it's not, it does not do only it. You have some
a little work to do, but
yeah, and you have some noise around. So it's not exactly what you would like to have, a text file with only your text. But it could be a way, a workaround if you wish to do what you want. But probably if you and it would be a solution for people not knowing how to do AHK script. But if you know how to do an AHK script, you have a far better solution of creating the script and have it saved somewhere that you can edit. And then it would not be in a sub menu. It would be the entry itself that you could select in your menu. But yeah, but there's a not always, but often ways to do things not as planned, but
this is
achieving the goal that you have.
Right. It's great to have someone to talk to. And I see and Cashier 67. I could never, I don't know if you expect us to be able to say your name, but Merry Christmas.
I just used the last part of your name, Cashier 67. Cashier or Cashier, not sure how to pronounce it.
At least John is speaks French, so he has a chance at being able to say it, but for an American,
no, it's very different. It's German, I guess. It's very different from French, so couldn't help.
I know, I'm just saying, but at least you speak more than one language, anyway,
I do speak 2 languages and a half. The half being Spanish.
Bien. I know poquito in Spanish.
I know a poquito más, a little more.
Cool. So, that's an interesting. I get
it. But you could do your own script right now, and you could place it in your menu instead of the sub menu, and you would have something more convenient. If you don't have
see if
questions or other things.
Right. Yeah, which we can work on that. I was thinking also, is there anything that anything we can quickly demonstrate with QAP?
I could update you with my quick access clipboard.
Great. Let's see it.
It's the good progress. I think that next week I will release the first beta release.
I think I mentioned this to you, but maybe not on this call. I've seen people posting on our videos saying they were pretty interested in that tool. So
okay, so let me share. So if we have any other question, we can. Yes, it's a tricky name, he says. Also, there's another name we could use, but we'd have to remember it. Handyman. Maybe you should change your YouTube channel name.
Worries.
So it's a pleasure to have you with us. Let me share my screen. I'll share my my development file here, so quick access clipboard, and I'll run it. It's a really development environment, so anything could happen.
And John, for people who aren't familiar with it, let's give them a little overview of what.
So it's a clipboard editor and it's a clipboard rule managers. So a clipboard editor means that it opens with a text, an editor here where you see what is in your clipboard, and you can change it Of course, you could change it elsewhere and copy it, but the idea is being able to edit the content of your clipboard without having to modify it somewhere, then copy it again, maybe paste, edit, copy. It's already there. So first thing for me, it was something I needed for my own work. So here, let's say that I will just copy some text here, and I'll make it always on top so that we always see the window here. So if I copy this, it will not work. Yeah, starts well. Why?
Because we're live.
Yeah, because we're live. So let me try again. Okay, now it works. And if I change the content, I'll just now copy this. So it works. I think it's because I started to change. As soon as you start to change the content of this editor, it's not connected to the clipboard anymore. Because that way, if whenever you do something, if you would not be able to cut and paste inside this window, because the cut and paste would change the content of the whole window. So maybe I could demo it at some point, but it's now done to prevent this. So for example, if I'll take a few files. Okay, I'll cancel, so that way the clipboard will be connected again. So we don't see here the disconnect information. If I take some files from my file manager, copy it. So the name of the files and the path of the files are added to this, and I could edit it. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which is much more powerful, is the ability to apply rules to the content of the clipboard. So for example, I have a rule here that is named lowercase. If I enable, so I select this rule and I apply or enable this rule, from now on, everything that will be copied to the clipboard will be copied lowercase. I could add a second rule here, not just one, and have a rule that would say, that would show what is the content of the clipboard. So, and I'll explain to you different type of rules that you can create, but this rule is an AUTOHOTKEY rule. So it executes some AUTOHOTKEY code. So I will apply this again. And if I copy a few other files here, so it does two things. First, it will execute the lowercase. So it will lowercase the content that I copied here, and it will show it in a message box, which is the AUTOHOTKEY code executed with the content of the clipboard. I'll show you how it's done in a minute. So that's, and you can deselect rules here and apply. So now the rules are disabled. There's another way to use the rule, and that's the most recent addition that I've done, is to apply rule directly in the content of the clipboard. So here, I don't have to copy something to have the rule to be applied. I can apply it on what's here. So if I right click here, or I could select it from this menu and select uppercase, which has been removed in one of my tests. So I'll just recreate it. Okay, yeah. Add. Change case. So you see that you have the various type of rules. I'll just review it in a minute. And uppercase, it will convert to uppercase. It goes in the here at the end. So I don't have to select it. Just remove. I don't have to select it. Just the fact that it's being created, I can now right click here and execute the rule uppercase, and it will change the content of the clipboard. And if I want to do it only on the part of the clipboard, I could also here say that I want to execute lowercase only. Did I select the whole thing? Or maybe I selected execute lowercase. The first letter.
Do you have,
so I have something.
Do you have another one that does it for AutoHotkey, that changes it to capitalized?
What do you mean?
Well, I have some for like the Automator that I make sure in my clipboard tool, it always capitalizes the A in the Automator. So I was just curious if you had something like that for AutoHotkey.
You could use find and replace. So,
but I'm just asking you, do you have something like that for AutoHotkey? Is that why it's not changing it to lowercase a?
I understand. No, not at this time. unless I have something running background that you did because I remember you did that. No, I don't know. So it's just something I have to look at. So you see what are the rules. They can be executed every time you copy something to your clipboard. And so and then you don't need this window to be open. It will be done on the clipboard, and you could copy from a web page and paste in Excel with the transformation that you need to be done on the content that you copied from the web page before it is pasted to Excel, for example. This window here, I keep it open just to show you what's happening.
Yeah. So I have one to add for a test. So let's do a find and replace.
Yeah.
So go to the find.
There will be a more elaborated help here sometime. Yeah. So rule name, how do you want to name it?
Test, whatever, test replace.
Test for Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just, to have it at the top of the menu, I'll just put this. Okay. You could type a category and note, so it's free text. There's no category list at this time. Maybe I'll do it later. But for now, you could at least have categories that will allow you, for example, the demos has the demo category, but that's something you can do. So what do we search for?
You're gonna want to copy it instead, but you're gonna laugh. I'm gonna start reading it to you.
Okay.
MENSCH.
SCH. Okay. Let me try to copy it from here. Yeah, there we have it here. So I copy it to my keyboard. You see it here.
And you know what I'm going to replace it with, right?
Yeah, with Animan, ANIMAN. Is it like this? ANIMAN?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Save. So so I will just copy something else here. You know, I have something else, and I'll just, you don't see it, but I'm selecting the name of our friend on a whole post he did on the chat, 4 or 5 lines. I copy it, and it didn't work. What's the reason? Because the rule is not applied, of course. I have to learn how to use my own tool. So test for Joe. So we have to enable this, apply the rule. And now I will just copy again the same thing. Okay, keyboard is disconnected because I changed the content. So I have to close. I'll just restart with a new window. It is still enabled. And now you see the clipboard where it has been replaced here. There's an NaH that comes, I think, from, that's the first word of his post. So normally on YouTube, you see this slide that way. But its name has been replaced. So funny example. So you've seen the second type of rule. I have to add a few options here. For example, you know, the usual option we have with find and replace. Do we want to do it taking into account the upper lowercase? Do you want to change only if it is full word? You know, these options. So it's not done yet, but something that will be added in the future. The third type is AUTOHOTKEY code. So I'll show you an existing one. So this one here is a very simple example. So I will edit this rule. So it contains message box, your clipboard contains, and then the clipboard variable. So it shows what's the content of your clipboard. If I execute it here, it shows Animan. It does not show the whole thing because here the clipboard has been edited. So, but it's been, let's say I will take something else. I'll take a file name here. And I will call the message box. So we have this small script. It's a one-line script, very short one with an error. I'll look at the video later to find what causes that. I'll just disable this rule. We don't need it anymore. So we have this message box example. There's another example here, a little more elaborate, which is multi-line. So if the clipboard is longer than 500 character, show only the first 500 character and put dot, dot, dot after, and else put the whole content here. So if I select a lot of files here, will it be more than, maybe not? So
maybe
let me, yeah, maybe let me just select some code here. So we have 200,000 characters in the clipboard, but if I select this rule, it will show us only the 500 first characters here. So these are only example, but what you would normally use here is things like string replace, you know, the string manipulation functions that you have in the AutoHotkey, doing one after the other, doing multiple, doing loops if you need to. So you could create any AutoHotkey code, and it should work here. It's not fully tested. Maybe there are some roadblocks that I didn't discover yet, but from my first test, it works well.
Cool.
Next type of rule is string manipulation. So in the end, it is executing the function string replace, str replace, where you say what you want to replace, on what you want to do the replacement, then replace what, replace with, and or no, it's not replace, excuse me, substring. I was on the wrong track. It is substring. So you want to take a given string and start from the beginning or a given character in this string, and keep only from this character to the end, or only for 10 characters, or only for until 5 characters before the end. So it's all these options here. So it allows users not knowing AutoHotkey to do the same, having the same option, the same power, if you will, that you have using the substring command. So if you want to start from start, or from a given position, let's say start from position 5 until the end, or only for 10 characters, or only until, let's say, 3 characters before the end. If I save this rule, a value is missing. Which value is missing? Oh, a name.
That's one of those, the coming from the right, the getting the last ending ones. It's one of a little snippet I have in QAP, because I can't remember that you start with a negative. Is that what it is? It uses a negative or something to.
Yeah, negative 5 will go until 5 characters. It will stop 5 characters before the end. So let's enable this. Yes, I will highlight it. And if I go to copy some files here, so I'll just take this one here. So you see that the beginning, so the C / Dropbox has been truncated at the beginning, and the last 3 characters, which would be ini, has been also truncated, because this rule is not this one. I cannot edit it because it's active, so I have to remove it if I want to open it. So that's and what I just added, and I hope it will work, is to have this action being repeated on each line of your clipboard. So what I did for one file, I can now do it. I'll just re-enable the rule. I can now do it for all the lines in my clipboard. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it will be for myself. I will find good uses of these functions. And the last one is the last 2 ones, prefix and suffix. So it's allow you to add some text at the beginning of the clipboard, or at the beginning of every line of your clipboard. Same thing for suffix, it will be done at the end. And you can combine your rules as you wish. So you could add something at the truncate a few things, then add something at the beginning, add something in the end. There's no add something in the middle. I haven't talked about that.
I don't, it'd be hard to.
Something like insert from a given character,
Mm.
a given content. So it's something more to add. So it gives you where I'm. So I'm now in fine tuning, like having these tooltips being displayed when you hover the buttons, adding some menu. So just to have enough to have at least a first beta release that should be usable without me explaining how to use it.
Yeah, the frustrating, I think, is the best word I can come up with. Thing about this is, I think it's like QAP. So many people have this need, but don't even realize it. You know, it's going to take someone, and they're not going to be looking for it, is the hard, you know, so, but if you make enough like videos or tutorials on showing some, you know, to give them ideas of what could be done, maybe that'll help them realize, wait a minute, you know, I'm doing a lot of this manually, you know, all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I really do not expect the same kind of number of users that I have with Quick Access Popup, which is something you use every day, every hour, every minute. On the opposite, this tool is for myself. I will use it maybe every 2 or 3 days when I have to do some. I manipulate a lot of music files and categorize and you rename and often I have a list of items that I have to do the same thing on each. So I'm always there with my mouse, selecting, copying, removing, and that's what the kind of thing I want to avoid with this tool. But yeah, it's pretty niche. But for users that do a lot of cut and paste, you know, you have web scraping tools, but many users don't have these tools to do web scraping where you could manipulate yourself the result of what you scrape on the web page. So they do it manually. But this tool could help. Each time you copy something from a given page, you know that the first 5 characters are junk, so you want to remove them, etc. You want to make it uppercase or any kind of manipulation like that. So that's where I am. So I think next week it will be a first beta release that will be available on the Quick Access Popup forum. So I'll create a section on the Quick Access forum for this new tool.
We'll have to plan still an actual call around it and just a demo, you know, specifically. So it's so it's not just a live thing where we're chatting, people see it, right?
Yeah, and I will. Yeah, and if we can do it, I would appreciate if we can do it when I release my first beta release. So to have a first explanation of what it is for new users. Yeah, something like we did today, but maybe more prepared. Yeah.
One thing that pops in my mind also I mean, that's the thing is like, until you start using it, you don't realize how many applications you have that you really could use it. And I can demonstrate at least somewhat. Let me share my screen and I'll come up with an example. So when I was at TI, and I was doing a lot of SQL stuff, right? And I would have to often look for thousands of parts and put it into a SQL query that, you know, would be looking for them. And I'd have to dedupe them and stuff. And so I have things written in AUTOHOTKEY that look like this one right here, this in-list SQL wrapper. But actually more to the point, let me say wrap click through tables, because the second I do it, so it took those terms mine uppercased them and deduped it, I think, actually, but also wrapped them, you know, with this part, right? So that
did it sort them, or
it might have sorted them also?
Yeah, it sorted, yes, because 5 is the first and 2 is the last. Yes,
but you know, what you just covered, that could be done in your tool already, with maybe like this one actually drops out that last or you know, it doesn't have one on the last line. But anyway, I think you get the idea, right?
Yeah, and just noting the idea of sorting lines, which is not available, but it's a rule that I could add. And what was the thing that? Good point.
Yeah, and I dedupe them and uppercase them, you know. But anyway, that's wrong. This whole thing's not in QAP. It's in my original. I have for
your pre-QAP menu.
It is, yeah. It's unfortunate, but the thing is, it's so, you can see there's so many levels that it just, I'm like, all right, I'm not migrating
Yeah.
it over.
And you ask me if I had an import tool, but I don't have an import tool
Yeah.
for this kind of menu. Yeah.
But something like this, right? It's a great you could use your tool as like, well, I'm always doing this to my stuff. Yeah. And there's, I'm sure, 8 million other examples. It's just you have to start thinking about what you do and know that that tool exists. And suddenly you can go, oh, hey, wait a minute. Why am I manually doing this all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one more way to save clicks and save keystrokes.
Great.
We have Will with us. Hi, Will. Do you have any question for us? Happy Christmas to you.
Let me see what I have recently done. I don't know if anyone's that comparing mic levels was an interesting one. Did I release? This was it's not released yet. I have this really crazy regular expression to grab YouTube IDs, and then because I use them a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, regular expression is a big topic.
Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen it, Jean led us on a nice intro to classes, which I haven't been, unfortunately, working on. I've been busy with other stuff, but classes are a great tool. If you're going to be recreating, if you have a lot of things where you have multiple instances of something, classes, I'd say, are a must. Yeah. Let me also look. I'll stop sharing meanwhile if I can find it. There we go. I'm looking in my currently open script and I'm editing to see if there's anything of interest that someone might. Now there's one I haven't, it's not shareable yet, but I plan to make a video on it and use it. But I don't know if anyone does this with AutoHotkey. One of the great things with using Internet Explorer was you could use the XHR. It's like the other major COM object we use for web scraping. It's the XML or XHR thing. And that COM object would borrow your cookies from IE. And so you could log in with IE to a website and then use this other COM object, and you wouldn't have to provide your cookies and what, because it's borrowing them from your browser. So it would really save you time if you're just trying to do something quickly. You don't have to, when you're doing the WinHTTP request and you have to do all the OAuth and pass all the cookies and keep track of all the stuff, it took me quite a while. So the XML HTTP request negated that need, but you also couldn't do other things like set your user agent, and you couldn't even provide cookies if you wanted to. But quite a while ago, I asked Tank to make a version of that for Chrome. And so he's done it, and I have it. I just need to apply it and actually have a nice, clean tutorial where I can walk through and show how you can log in with Chrome, and then from Chrome, you can programmatically do an API call from Chrome. So it's not navigating to the browser page with Chrome. You're doing the XHR, request basically, but from Chrome. And so it might be a little easier. You don't have to have the cookies, is my point, right? Because it'll borrow Chrome's cookies. So hopefully that'll be of interest. It's pretty complicated. So I haven't done a video on it yet. Does anyone have anything they're working on they want to share? And John, you've been quite busy with that other tool. That's awesome.
I do some maintenance on quick access Popup. But nothing other new to show you at this time. It's turkey time now here. You had yours at Thanksgiving, but here in Quebec, we have turkey at Christmas or New Year's Eve.
It's interesting. And I mean, Grant, if anyone has something to talk about, we're more than happy to help. But hey, Chunji, good to see you. Here, it's starting to become a pretty common thing. Is people get tamales for Christmas? It's a tamales, Mexican dish that's it's kind of like a burrito, except for it's wrapped in a corn husk, I guess is the best way to describe it. So you don't eat the corn husk, right? Because it's one of the first mistakes. The first people that first try it, like they think they're supposed to eat that. You're not supposed to eat that. Anyway, it's a very corny dish, but it's starting to be pretty popular. So that Mexican restaurant I've been helping, and actually I made a really interesting, real quickly, just because it's really interesting, is they have TVs up, and I'm like, hey, because I created a website for them. I have like 100 pictures of their food and some stuff. So I took a Roku device and I put all the pictures on a thumb drive, and then I added memes. I added Bible verses because they're very religious. I added, favorite quotes, this and that, and hours of operation. And I put them on all the pictures on a thumb drive and just put it on a Roku. And now it randomly shows the pictures and just loops over them. Mm-hmm. And if we get more pictures, it's so simple, right? They're just a picture. I add it to the thumb drive and put it right back in. And now they have this really great marketing, tool that it was so simple and cheap.
Yeah, your Roku device is very cheap.
Yeah, they're very
$100, something like that.
Oh no, like 25.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're very. It depends what version you get, right? There's some that are 60, 70.
Yeah, maybe it's getting lower with the time. Yeah, I bought one a few years ago. Not use it a lot, but you're gonna laugh. Like I've been streaming for like 20 years. Like I was an early adopter in the streaming approach, and hadn't had cable in forever. But yeah. So let's see, what else can we discuss or share now? I don't know if people use Fiddler a lot or want any just for fun. I mean, we could do a little showing of what you can see, just for something to talk about, unless someone has something they want to cover. Chunji, and I know Chunji, because I think you're on our webinars often, right? I don't know if you know there's a Zoom link if you want to join, just because I know you often join the webinars. Is the Zoom link in the description? Oh, not today, I think.
Let me I'm trying to remember.
You could put it in the chat.
That's actually, let me I'll just copy it from. I know I have it in QAP somewhere, but I think it's just I have the link.
I have it close here. Okay. Copy link. Oh, yes, I'm doing it right now.
Too late.
No, mine is before yours in my chat. I don't know for you.
That's hilarious because I don't even see yours. There it goes. Now I see yours. Interesting. So I don't understand. So even the chat is delayed?
Yeah.
I thought the chat was like instantaneous. So now I'm really confused.
But it's not 45 seconds at least. Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to join the Zoom, and you know what, good point, Jean. Now the question is, not thinking of even QAP or any other, any tools we have, how would we remind ourselves to do something like that every time we have this call? We could, because the Chrome URL, tab name would probably that'd be really programmatically hard. Maybe the YouTube channel, maybe that's what wouldn't change, because I believe the name of the Chrome right now, it's what I type in, which I usually try to because I don't have it exactly the way I want it.
You mean I change it every the name of the page?
Yeah, right. But that YouTube channel is probably the simplest way to say, hey, if that because I'm never on my own YouTube channel, right? So if I see that in Chrome, pop up with a reminder, paste link to
but
live stream.
Would everybody see it?
Oh, you know what? No. But it's just a reminder.
I don't get your point. I don't get.
I'm trying to figure out how I can remind myself, or for you to post that link when we start, right?
So you don't mean on the tab of the page, you mean.
Well, I was going to use the tab of the page to remind me, hey, when this is here.
Oh, okay. Pop up a message. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I realized a better source is probably going to Zoom and I can see a live on YouTube thing on my window. So I could do something with that and try to look for that. And when you see that live on YouTube, have that pop up, with a reminder. Maybe that's my approach. Or the simpler way is I just put a reminder for 10:05 my time to paste link to chat. It's a calendar reminder
without having something running 24 hours a day,
right, that's right.
monitoring for every page you look at or Zoom.
Yeah. Well, and that was with the call I had, and it was a podcast. Actually, I don't think it's been shared yet, but I did with Jackie where we're talking about the amount of resources being used in using like a shell hooks approach versus a wait for when active approach, and I talked to Tank first, and then Jackie and I discussed it. Tank and I wasn't recorded, but everyone agreed the amount of resources that AUTOHOTKEY actually uses watching for a page to exist is so infinitesimally small, that like it's not even though like I hear you, because that was my thought of like, man, do I really want to have, something always looking for this thing to exist? What I was trying to do was to drag, every time I would drag, actually, it's kind of ironic. It's what I mentioned earlier. When I would drag those pictures to the thumb drive, I would get this warning. Not all properties or something are going to be copied over. Are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, I always want to do this. So I wanted to build something that would automatically say, yeah, click all that apply and hit yes and do it. But it bugged me that I would always have this thing watching for that window. And even though it's an infinitesimally, well, it seems small, I was thinking, well, maybe the, shell hooks is going to be a less resource intensive thing than the when active or when exist approach. And from talking to both of them, they both agreed of like, it is so intense and ridiculously small amount of resources, it's just not worth even considering, even though one might be better. One might be half as many resources, but it's so small.
Half of nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you look at all the messages that I don't remember exactly the name of this tool where you see the messages that Windows is creating, sending from one application to the other, or there are so many of them every fraction of seconds. So
it's insane.
That your monitoring line is just a little thing, that.
Yeah, I remember it was one of the first AUTOHOTKEY videos I ever saw was Raptor X doing, I want to say it was shell hooks, maybe it was the send message, I forget which one, but he was showing how to monitor for these things and the craziness of everything that you were seeing when he said, let me turn it on. And then you're like, holy cow, that he would filter it and filter it and filter it. And then finally you're like, okay, now I can tell what's going on. But and incidentally, Jean, and I forgot because you've worked with them too. I heard from Isaias the other day, a couple days ago, and he said he hopefully hopes to be back working with me maybe in January. So cool. I was happy to hear that. He had a little thing he had to take care of. If
he's still willing to do the Spanish translation,
he doesn't want to work
quick
for
access
you
Popup.
No, I'm kidding.
I know, but I'll ask you to ask him, okay? But he did some translation, some Spanish translation for quick access Popup, and I have some new lines to translate. So hopefully we'll have some time for that.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because obviously, I was I guess sad and disappointed when he had to go do his own stuff, but I get it. But because I was helping that Mexican restaurant, he was a great person to have that could, because like I said, these people barely speak English. So it's been really hard talking to them. And finally they trust me now. So I'm like, I can just do whatever I want, and not have to worry that they think I'm, because like anyway, part of me made me feel like they might think I'm stealing their business, when I'm like, I'm just trying to help them stay in business. But so, hey, Tab Nation, awesome. Why don't you join oh, maybe, can you see the link, Tom, from Tab Nation? Oh, and I don't know how to say Lensko pairing. Hi.
I'll just paste the link again, just in case.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's one thing I don't like in Zoom. If you join the meeting late and the link is there, nobody sees it. But I believe in YouTube, I guess I could reload the page and see if I see it. You could
go back in the chat. Yeah.
Right.
I'll have to leave in 10 minutes, Joe.
No, you're not allowed.
I can keep my camera on if you wish, but I won't be there.
That's funny. Well, didn't you used to have a bird or something?
Yeah,
Do I remember?
he's dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's very sad. Give me a few.
Oh, cool. I didn't think about it, but so Tom from Tab Nation, he he was where we started with this, and then he actually, I think he got a job or had some other stuff to do, but today's probably a holiday, so I should have reached out to him and said, are you going to be available?
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic is people are more available on holidays. We tried, thinking, should we have this on the weekend versus during the week?
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
And your conclusion was no? Maybe we should try.
Maybe we should try. I just don't know. Yeah. The thing is, most of my, I think followers, subscribers are business people. However, they're using AUTOHOTKEY for work. So I guess it just gets back to if you, maybe some people don't have it in an environment where they could, call and talk.
The point for myself is that anything could happen during the weekend. So having an engagement to do something at 11 Saturday morning would be fine for some weekends, but for some other, it would be a bug in my weekend. Yeah.
And I agree. It's like more of a free for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I rarely have stuff to do, but if I do, it's typically on a weekend, not during the week.
Yeah.
So Jean, any other for your clipboard management tool? Do you have any other big things you're going to implement in that? Are you happy with it? And you're just adding some more rules, kind of things?
Yeah, on my wish list, I have a few things. I have the idea of renaming files from this tool. So if you copy file from your Windows Explorer, the files you copy goes to the clipboard. And then my tool could just apply a rule to rename these files and rename them for real. So just not applying the rule to the text of the files, but also just renaming the files that way. So it would be a way to rename 100 files with one command for all the files, something we can do with tools like Directory Opus. I don't know if you've seen this, how powerful it is to do file renaming in Directory Opus. It may be something we could take a look at, but something you cannot do with the Windows Explorer. So it's one of the ideas I'm having.
Hey, Tom, there's a Power UI or Power Toys tool that is decent, and then there's an AUTOHOTKEY multi-rename script that I have.
Of course.
Yeah.
For me, it's just to add something to leverage what's already in Quick Access Clipboard to do these kind of things.
And so QAC, is that right? I'm trying to get that in my head. It didn't.
QAC, yeah, that's a new acronym we have to get used to.
Does it? Does it only?
I'm still not sure it will be a definitive name. By the way, I'll just test feedback from users who maybe. I like to use Quick Access something because it relates to my other tool. But yeah, but I interrupted you.
That's okay. I'm just curious. That tool right now, because it might have to change with what you're describing. Does it only work on text in your clipboard?
Yes, but I would be open to have someone very familiar with GDI and these things to maybe do the equivalent with graphical content.
Well, I meant more of a point of, and maybe that's what you were answering, is because you can detect the type of format that's in the clipboard.
Yeah, if it's not text, I do nothing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
In fact, I do display that it is not text, if I remember well.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure let's stick with the idea of GDI and stuff in pictures. Like, what would you?
You could apply some shading, making it black and white, or so you copy something, it's instantly transformed to black and white, for example. I could not do it myself. No way, I don't know enough about that, but I can imagine that type, or cropping. You could say crop from this pixel to this pixel. So you would copy something from a full screen and it would be automatically cropped to what you want to do. And then you would paste it in your destination application with some rules being applied to your graphical content. So the same approach than with text, but on images.
One thing that drove me nuts when I was at TI and I had changed jobs for a while and I was working in the businesses, we had these tools where I had to use a web browser and upload pictures. I was basically creating web pages and stuff, but upload pictures, but they only allowed for a very specific dimension, and file format. And I had to manually, because I didn't have a way to do it. I'm like, why? This is stupid. Like it's, I don't want to say math, but it is programmatic where you can convert it to what I want, the file format. And so I automated that for me, but it was like my colleagues, oh man, they,
yeah. So Quick Access Clipboard is open source. So if someone at some point, I'll just maybe publicize the fact that it exists and it could be augmented with graphical clipboard content processing.
One, boy, I don't know if I would do it in that, but one thing that's dawned on me was, because it's back to that. It's funny how things, are still, it's what's in your head, right? But the Mexican restaurant, the thing with the Roku and the pictures I was mentioning, it probably, you could have it where you use GDI to draw text on a picture, like have, like the name of the restaurant, inserted or whatever automatically, like, hey, do this overlay.
Or a fingerprint. Is it fingerprint? Is what's the name of something that?
A thumbnail kind of thing. Yeah.
No, but I mean something that watermark. Yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of other tools doing that, but it's kind of things that could be integrated in this tool.
Yeah, I have one for using FFmpeg to do that onto videos, which is convenient.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Tom.
Okay, cool. Just
how are you?
Oh no, it's really low, Tom.
It's low.
Yes, for some reason. I need to get a new power supply for my microphone, so it's just running off the system's power, which sucks.
How's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, I was kind of listening while I was setting up, and since the holiday, or for a holiday, I don't work on a Friday, so I just saw you were live, and I was like, oh crap, that's right. It's been a while, so I jumped on. I actually just started playing with GDI, so I'm interested in that stuff, with using it with GUIs on AUTOHOTKEYs. So I'm trying to play with.
Yeah, it's amazingly powerful.
Oh yeah, it's been really neat so far. I downloaded the GDIP/all AHK library thing. Just been playing with that, learning how that works and stuff. It's really cool to add like just like animated stuff or pictures to your GUIs that look a lot cleaner. And yeah, about the Saturday thing, I can always actually do Saturdays for the most part. Fridays are hit and miss. Well,
and what was it, about a month ago, Jean asked my plans of like, hey, are we going to do this like next year? And I'm like, let's wait till the end of the year and then we can decide. But maybe that a nice shifting point would be next year. Maybe we try it on Saturdays instead of Fridays and see how it goes. But yeah, I hear you, Jean. It's harder for me to predict on one thing that my character is, when I say I'm going to do something, I damn well am going to do it. And so for me to say I'll be here on the Saturdays, I don't like to have to say, hey, I can't make it this week. It's I have a real problem with doing that. So that's why I'm hesitant.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But I guess the other option
for your suggestion about a tool that does bulk file renaming, and to see if I could get some ideas from there. Sorry, Joe, I interrupted. Just wanted to. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, I haven't. I was trying to read bulk rename utility. Is it an AUTOHOTKEY script? What?
Not necessarily.
I
So
think
the point is just to see what it does and maybe things that could inspire me in adding rules to quick access clipboard.
well, the multi-renaming tool that, let's see. Yeah, good. I have it right. I have, and someone was mentioning there were some problems, and I started using it. I'm like, yeah, okay. I haven't wrote them back to say it yet, but I'm like, I did see a little weirdness, but the main stuff I use it for, it works great, and it's AUTOHOTKEY script. But that was, I put the link of it there. It has too much. It's John. You know, I complain a lot about this kind of stuff, but it has. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quickly here. I'll fire it up. Oh no, this one's actually in my start menu. Utilities. Where'd it go? Oh, it's over here. So this is the tool, and it has all these other options. With this is where I'm having a problem with it, right? But you can renumber the sequence of things. If this one ends in a 1 and a 2, hey, increment it by 2 or 3. It has a crazy number of stuff that you can do. I predominantly, and I don't even use it with the regular expressions, I'll drag in multiple files, and you put, this is the text I want to search for, and this is what I want to replace it with. And it's really simple. Let me see if I can pop open. So here's a couple. So I could say, so see how right here, there's the no close any, and it's got rid of that.
Yeah.
So I love that this is dynamic. There's also a preview. I can look at it, and there's a undo button as well, because you're like, it's really, like I said though, it's so powerful. What was I doing? I was doing one where I was doing that incrementing stuff, and I had to do a video to myself to remind me of these patterns, because it was really complicated. And then you can make plugins, and it's a crazy powerful tool. And the help is decent, if I remember right. You can go and read a lot of stuff. Oh, look, it's got total commander stuff too. Awesome. But yeah, it's an amazing tool. But
what are the version, the thing at the top?
Here, I'll throw this. Oh crap! Oh, that's a local file. I can't throw that in the URL. Was this what you were looking at?
Yeah, from
but yeah, quite quite powerful. Yeah, I forget who the author was. When I found it, it was broken, and I wrote him and I said, hey, and he said, hey, feel free to fix it, and he didn't want anything to do with it. So I had Maestrieth go through and get it working somewhat, but clearly there's somewhere along the way, and I need to go look at my history of it, that something went wrong. But yeah, it's a very cool tool.
Is it on your site?
Yeah, I put the link in the chat, in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, okay, MRS, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I do a video here walking through some of the examples of it, but it's my go-to for doing main stuff. But like I said, there's a Power Toys tool, which I think I have it installed. Did anyone see anything that says like Power Toys rename? Power rename.
Most people seem to go for is Power Toys.
Yeah, so this is the Power rename. And this is where, like I think this tool is just a bit too much. I'd like to simplify it some and not have as many options, because it's just overwhelming. This one is darn close, Jean. This one, I mean, I'd say maybe look at both, but this one to me was like, it's very simple, in what I'm doing, and it doesn't go too crazy on the options.
I'm thinking of the advantage of doing it with quick access clipboard, if there are advantage. And what I see is that once you set the rule, you can copy file, you can select file in your Explorer window, copy them, and they are instantly renamed. So you don't have to open a separate window, select the file, apply the rule. So once it's applied, when it's set up, you can use it as long as you want on any file in your Explorer. Maybe it's dangerous. Maybe at some point you forget that the rule is enabled, and then the rule is fired on something you would not want it to be to be done.
I actually have had that.
That's why I have something like a timeout for rules. I have there's a general timeout, but it's 5 minutes, I think. But I should, in this case, I have a shorter timeout so that after, let's say, 30 seconds of not using this rule will be disabled.
Well, you know what I would say, Jean, is what I would love in what you just described is having a pop-up to say, would you like to disable, instead of just having it go away, right? Because but I have had, and I've been trying to think about how do I quote unquote fix it, because a lot of the stuff I do, when you see my videos and the URLs, I get rid of the HTTPS at the beginning, because trying to show it in the YouTube, it's just really long. So I get rid of it. However, when I'm posting a link somewhere, I want to have that HTTPS :/ in there for the link to work. And so initially I had done a search replace always to get rid of that front part, because it also has a www, which I'm like, I don't need it either. But I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to change mine to look for a certain window to be active, to say, when this is here, when it's coming from that, if this window exists, don't do my rule, because I've been trying to think through how do I adjust it.
I'll have to go, Joe.
Okay, Jean. Well, thank you.
So, but you're not alone. You're with Tom and other people on the chat.
Yeah, awesome.
So, wishing you everybody a Merry Christmas and
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
See you before the next year, maybe. Will you be there next week, Joe?
I'm planning on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to be there too.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. So, Tom, what have you been up to?
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I've been expanding my channel a little bit, kind of exploring new stuff. Still sticking with the whole automation thing. I'm still doing like 70% of my channel, or probably more than that, more like 80% of my channel is always going to be AUTOHOTKEYs. But I got a few videos coming out with Python and how to automate your keyboard, stuff like that. Working on doing, I don't know if you've ever heard it, the CompTIA A+ certification.
No.
IT. Okay, it's like basically it's what you do if you want to work in IT. It gives you a certification in it.
Cool.
It's a 1,000-page book, but it's all like super simple stuff. Like I'm blowing through this book. Like it's like stuff like chapter 1 is like, what is this port? It's a USB. What is this port? It's a VGA. Like to me, it's a lot of this stuff is just super common sense, but it also is like, how to update your drivers, how to troubleshoot. But it's pretty easy. But the test can be pretty hard. Yeah.
What I was going to say was, it's common sense for people who've worked in technology, used computers for a long time, right? But if you've never done it, it's crazy stuff. I remember, and I'm not knocking him, but my wife's husband, he was in prison for several years, and he had a bad skills. He was I can't remember what it's called, but he laid bricks. I can't think of what that's called. But in prison, they were teaching him how to swap out hard drives on a computer. And I'm like, do you have backgrounds? No, but anyway, he would do this one thing, but I'm like, what about this? He's like, well, I don't know what that is. I'm like, he didn't have any of the foundation, of understanding like the stuff you're talking about. And I'm like, it's asking a lot to teach someone, a very specific thing. And yet you don't have this broader knowledge of other stuff. But so anyway,
yeah, after that, it's just kind of, you're just doing repetitive work. So you don't really learn anything, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I've been playing around with HTML, Python, JavaScript, a few other videos and some other languages coming out, but most of them are going to center around still automation. But I just kind of want to get a feeler out there, see what people like. I know Python's a pretty big one. That people are interested in. So see how those go. They'll come out in the next week or two. It was nice the other day, or yesterday actually. I had a bunch of free time, so I knocked out 8 videos which feels really good because I'm like, I'm good for like a month now where I don't even have to worry about prepping for a video or writing
Right.
any scripts for it.
Yeah.
So it was nice to knock out 8 different videos. And one of them is about the GDI P library for AUTOHOTKEYs and just how to put, how to animate pictures and whatnot into your GUI. So that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hellbent, who often is here, he's not here today, but he does a lot with the GDI library. And for that Mexican restaurant where I was talking to him about something. I think because I was doing a newsletter and for them, and I'm like, okay, hey, and I realized like with GDI, hey, we could write like a picture of their restaurant and dynamically use GDI to put the person's name embedded in the picture, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
this would be really cool. And because I'm using, even though like I said, the people at the Mexican restaurant, they're not going to understand any of this stuff, which is fine. But I'm like, hey, at some point I could probably sell this approach to an actual, business that really wants to do this. And then what really made me laugh was he's like, not only can we do that, but we could animate it. And so he had a person jumping up and down in the background he had drawn, with the things. And I'm like, yeah, that's so over the top. But he's like, oh, it's really easy. And I'm like, yeah, easy for you. But yeah, I just don't work with, I haven't used that. It's kind of funny because it's in my screen clipping tool, but I've still never really dove into it. Although I also do use it on, sorry, let me just finish on shoving. I think I use it when I automate, like having a hotkey to shove an image into your clipboard and paste. I think I use the GDI library there. Anyway, so what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, yeah, I've never really used it either. I've never had a reason, but a lot of people keep asking about it. So I was like, all right, I'll do a video on how to add a GIF to your GUI, something simple. Just explore it a little bit. I mean, it's 3,000 lines of very complex code, so it's a lot to like look at and see what all it can do exactly and manipulate it how you want.
Let me share this one. I just added it the other day to my, now I know people are going to laugh, but it's my web scraping syntax writer. So I'm just launching it right now. I don't think it's actually live. I need to go update it. So now it's running. So if I can come in here and I think under miscellaneous, display HTML without saving it to a file. So this code, here's HTML, right? I'm shoving into a variable just called HTML, and it's not, notice it's not colon equals because it has double quotes, and I just wanted to be lazy and not have to worry about that. But actually, I should have, sorry, let me cut this and put it into Studio. Studio does a little better job to me on the IntelliSense.
Yeah.
It has, so, and this, what I did was, this is an actual thumbnail to my YouTube stuff. But what's cool about this is you first, I don't think I'd have to have this. It's for this example, but it's just good safety to, let's back up the version in your registry of what IE is set to. But meanwhile, we're going to set it to version 11, but save it as a backup. We're going to create an ActiveX window. And then we're going to reset. This is basically changing this back to what it was set at. This ver here is that there, right? So you're resetting it. But then we navigate to it and display it. So all of this is done with this HTML without saving it, right? So if you have something in HTML and you don't want to save it as a file, right? This allows me to hit a button and like, there's my, it went and got, that, but this is HTML, but this is not saved as a file anywhere, right? So my script, which at the beginning of this call, I talked about how I have this really crazy regular expression for grabbing any sort of a YouTube. I didn't think about it, Tom. I should have sent it to you as well. And I haven't released a video yet, but it looks for any sort of a URL that from a YouTube video, because they can be a lot of different formats. And it grabs just this unique ID, right? And then, because that's where I'm putting it into here. And when I do my weekly newsletter, I'll have the video, a link with the text, but then I put the thumbnail beneath it. Well, this saves me the trouble of going and writing all this, as I don't have to go write it. So now what I did was my clip that goes and gets that thumbnail and copies the HTML of whatever YouTube video I highlight, it displays the image of the thumbnail to let me know it's done, instead of just saying, hey, we got the image. Now I have the actual image. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool, right? So it's just one more little thing I did to help me write that newsletter, just because I do it every week. And I'm like, I don't want to spend time, doing this other stuff. So I'm automating writing my HTML, which is really helpful.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I can definitely see this in a lot more places than just using for your newsletter. I mean, just emails in general.
Right.
A lot of people, especially businesses, like you're saying. That's pretty
So,
cool.
so this script. So again, I'm gonna highlight it. It doesn't matter what it is, but I would highlight something like this. Let me get actually, it shouldn't have mattered. And now I'll hit my hotkey. And so it said, did you see how I said that we got it and it showed it?
Yep.
That was my YouTube script that goes, and whatever I have highlighted, it'll figure out there's, this little bit. Let me see if, and wait a minute, where? Oh, here we go. So let me jump to that. So this is the script, right? This is the YouTube script. It's a regular expression, but see all these URLs here?
Yeah.
In different, this is what really it could be that you're copying a URL from, a YouTube URL. These are all valid YouTube URL stuff. And so any of these things, it'll match that pattern and grab it. So that's what this regular expression is. And here, and it's a named one. I don't know if you use name ones, but this question mark P ID. And so I don't have to use a number. I can see that ID right here. That's why it's right here is ID. So I gave it a name, even though I could have used a number. I like the names. It just helps me know what I'm doing. But yeah, it's pretty slick if you're doing this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. But it could definitely be manipulated into other ways, especially the first one. I really like that one. That was really cool.
The which one?
The first one you showed me where it pops up the GUI.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why don't I show myself before? It would just have the little notification that said, we got it. I'm like, which is nice, but I forget what I was doing. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I display that image? Let's make it simple. And it takes, well, actually, if we go back, this one took me a while, and I had to use Fiddler to go track it down. But this key, and I think it was from my browser. It comes up with this key, but this other information as well, all had to be provided. It was really crazy.
Wow, that's a lot, yeah.
And then here's the video ID. Well, sorry, that's the text. And then this is the ID you're looking up. So even if it was one of your videos, I can go grab the thumbnail if I have the URL and shove it and wrap it with the HTML, and that way, and have it clickable. So also it gives me, like here, you can see it all, right? So this is all dynamically written for me, right? So this is what I would paste into my newsletter, and it has the alt text. I think I used the title of the video. There's the default width. I have a 250. This is the first. I could change this number to like a 1, 2, or 3. I think, and they're different. What do you call it? Not scales, but the size of the file, how granular, the number of pixels it is.
Oh, okay.
But it also provides it. I've wrapped it so if they click the picture, it will open it in a new browser automatically. So again, just imagine if you're doing all the stuff, I don't have to write all that HTML. It's just done. I highlight the URL I want, hit a button, it writes this for me. I dump that into my newsletter and I move on. Like I'm on to the next thing. So
yeah. And you're putting them out all the time. So it's definitely going to save a lot of time.
It does. It does.
Especially
yeah.
Like you're saying, you don't have to remember everything you're doing.
Right.
Like, wait, well,
right. Now the other thing, which, and I've shown John this several times, but like when I'm doing it, I'll say, and actually I have a different hotkey to even jump to it, is here's like my banner. And now this is all, see, it's under HTML. So other than this, actually it goes and helps me write my HTML, but these are all HTML snippets, right? So this is my banner that has all of my Udemy courses, right? Here are each, the little individual ones for each course where it has a thumbnail and it's clickable. But then there's like B-roll stuff where I just want a robot working with a lady. And so this is, things I have, and I'm like, now I have them at the tips of my fingers, right? And I can throw them in there and it doesn't take me a long time. So yeah, and I don't have to, once I've tested these once, I know they're solid. So I don't have to worry that they did or didn't work. And then I haven't updated it yet, but I have, let's see here. Sorry, I got to think about this HTML preview. And here, if I copy that and paste it and run it, now this version, so look how tiny it is. Yeah. This version is actually saving it as a file. A local HTML file, but what I realized was like, oh, I can update this one to not save it as a file, so it's just even quicker, and I'm not creating a local HTML, temp file and then running it. But if you're doing a lot of stuff where you're developing, so at TI, the tool that I mentioned, one of the tools I'd use, I would go and post stuff, but I literally couldn't preview. I'd have to make it live to see how it looked, and it just drove me nuts. I'm like, why can't I preview this? There's no way for me to preview it. That's insane. So I wrote this little tool where I can dump in HTML and just look at it, hit run, and go, oh, okay, at least it's not crazy. And now, of course, it still might look a little different when it's rendering in your browser and all this other crap right around it. But it was made it really simple for me to take a quick look. But yeah, this is another. I need to go update this so it doesn't save it as a local file. But yeah,
that's cool. I've never thought of doing something like that. It makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I keep saying over and over for people. It's like, and I've been, using AUTOHOTKEY for, I don't know, 10 years or whatever, but there's still shit all the time that I'm like, oh, it never dawned on me. I'm doing this every time. Why don't I make a tool to do that, right? Or just a little thing like adding, hey, why not show the thumbnail? Like even in this one where I showed with QAP that I'm getting the HTML for the image, I could probably tweak that to also show me the image, like, oh, okay, that is the right image, right? Because it's nice having that visual, instead of just seeing the text.
Yeah, and you don't think about stuff a lot like that, especially if you don't know how AUTOHOTKEY fully works. When I was working, 90% of the projects that I was working on were my idea because I know how to automate with AUTOHOTKEYs. And you have these people, like you can ask them like, hey, what would you want automated? That's a hard question for them to answer because they don't know what, even something as simple as like clicks or auto typing, like hot strings. They don't even know that exists. So like in their brain, they can't process that. That's something that could be automated. That
was exactly what I told Jean with his, the Clipboard tool he was mentioning. I said, so many people actually could use this. However, they don't even understand it as a concept or even understand how they would apply it. Like, and they're not going to be looking for it. And I always tell people like, let me just come and shadow you for an hour, right? Because it's easier for me to watch what you do, make notes. And then when they're, like after an hour, go, okay, here's 3 things that we could do, that would really save you time.
That's exactly what I would do. I would shadow for like a little bit and I would just be like, okay, hold on. Explain that last step. Tell me every step you just took. And I'd be sitting there writing on my notebook, like, click here.
Yeah.
Information. And then I'd be like, all right, I'll be back in like an hour.
Like, well, what I would recommend if you can, if it's easy, nowadays with everyone having like Zoom or some sort of a thing installed, tell them to just turn on recording your desktop, and start working, right? And then then you have it.
That's a great idea. Just hey, like, that way you can keep working on what you're working on. And then like when you have some free time, it's like, okay, I'm just going to watch this, quick 30-minute video of this person working. And then I can have the questions ready.
Right.
If you need to go back and be like, hey, I saw you did this one thing. Can you explain why you did that?
And maybe, I think you and I talked about it, but in Windows 10, there's a built-in Windows tool now that you can turn it on, and it will record actually like active windows and tell you the window that was, I have a video on it. I just can't remember the name of it, but it's built into Windows now. And it does screenshots as well. So what I think that's a great approach is you record it, have them record just their desktop of them working. Then you go back and watch it and go, hey, by the way, at 8 minutes and 7 seconds into this video, you did X, Y, and Z. Can I get you to launch this other program that I can't remember the name of, and go back and repeat what you did, right? And then that will give you all the information that you need. Like it tells you the window titles, where they were, and all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's either snipping tool or like something records or something. I don't remember. I've used it before. I know what you're talking about.
I think if I search on my channel for Microsoft, because I don't mention Microsoft actually like that often in the titles. Stupid.
I would love to do a video with Windows 11, just showing people like, hey, AUTOHOTKEY still works. See, because that's a big question.
Yeah, I've done.
My computer.
I have a
yet.
That reminds me. What did I do? I did a video showing Windows 11 in it, and I was doing something, but I mentioned in that video, it was my how to automate Edge, IE within Edge on Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Okay.
And Jean, and if you're interested, I can forward it to you. Jean has a virtual environment with Windows 11. And so he had watched some videos and he forwarded them to me and I watched them. But on my computer, even though I have a kick butt computer, when I was trying to virtually install Windows 11, it was saying your computer doesn't support Windows 11. And so I had to learn, how to fake my computer, my virtual computer, where it would install Windows 11 in the virtual environment. And the shortcut is, by the way, which I didn't know this, it was really weird. When you go to install Windows, so this is before you've installed it, but you're trying to install it and it says we can't install it. There's actually a registry that already exists when you're doing that. And you can go in and you can tweak the registry at this one key that they tell you. And then you can continue on and actually install it. So even on your own normal computer, if it doesn't handle it, you can do this, right? But this was done in the virtual environment. I just need to go back and actually redo it because it was a little... What they didn't tell you was when to do that. And I kept trying to do it after I was doing something, and you need to do it before you actually, are doing something. But anyway, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've tried installing it, but
Windows Steps Recorder.
My own computer, so it's a little harder for support sometimes. I always get stuff a little bbit later just because it's a homemade computer. So that's always like the last to get support.
So I'm putting the link in the chat in the YouTube chat, but it's the did I put the link to but it's the Windows Steps Recorder built into Windows 10.
Okay.
So I think if you just type Steps Recorder, you'll see it. If you type that in your Windows startup thing, it'll launch it for you. It'll find it and launch it.
You said Steps Recorder? Yep.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. So let me, I'll share real quickly here. So I typed it. Well, you know what? Let's just to make sure people
stuff too. That's pretty cool.
Steps Recorder. So you click it and then it launches and I'm going to start recording. I don't know. I'm going to activate this, minimize it and stop recording. And it goes through and look at it took screenshots. It gives you the titles of the windows. It's pretty cool. So it's a cool way. Now it doesn't automate it for you, but it helps document, the things you would need to have, which I think is, pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I like that. And you can add comments and stuff I saw too.
Yeah.
So that way, if they want to say, hey, here's what I'm doing right now, I'm working on this, they can.
Yeah. And the fact that, like I said, it's built into Windows 10 and I'm assume Windows 11, it's awesome because you don't have to say, hey, go get this tool, blah, 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 do all this stuff. It's just there now, which is, it's really great because
Yeah, they're not going to know how to use like a WD learner or anything like that.
Yep.
Get all this information for me. But it's a good way to start for sure. You know, you can just use like set title match mode to 2 or something to at least test and then get something more accurate later.
At the bare minimum, it at least gives you the pieces to say, hey, I see you started Chrome, you know, or this tool, right? You know what I mean? And it's documenting it and stuff. And so it, again, it doesn't do everything, but it helps you understand what's going on in behind the scenes. Yeah. All right. Did anyone have anything else? I gotta get going here pretty soon.
Yep, I'm heading up to Pennsylvania for a lunch.
cool.
Family, late lunch, early dinner.
Mine's all here. Well, not all, but most of them are. My wife's family's here and stuff. So I'm secluded at the moment, but I need to go out and say hi. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to make it, man.
Yeah. I'm glad I just randomly got on YouTube and it was like, oh, Joe's live, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I was like,
well, it's funny because I see your email in my notifications, but I drop it out because I'm like, I thought you're normally busy, and again, I apologize. It didn't cross my mind of like it's quote unquote, you know, a holiday probably. But yeah, I bet. And well, actually, I don't think I finished my sentence. When we talked about doing it Fridays versus Saturdays, is hey, we could do both, right? Like we could have it as normally a Friday, and then you know, week by week we say, hey, can you do it this Saturday? Okay, let's jump on and you know see if anyone's around, right? And that way it's more flexible, you know. And maybe like on Thursday or Friday we can decide for that Saturday. That way I don't feel like I'm committed to saying every Saturday I'm going to be here. But maybe that would be because I think it's, you know, it's probably fine that way.
Yeah, and it's going to give a chance for more people. You know, they can't do Friday or they can't do Saturday. Well, maybe they can do the other day. That way they can get their questions in. You know, I know a lot of people can submit their questions. Well, if anybody's watching this and doesn't know this, you can submit questions beforehand so that it does 2 things. One is maybe you can't make it live. We can still answer your question, find it later. And B is, you know, depending on how complex the question is, it gives us a chance to like kind of figure out like something. So we're not just sitting here babbling for 15 minutes trying to figure out your problem. Right. We can have your problem and then explain it pretty much right away.
Yeah, at least do a little prep work to hope we have a solution. Because sometimes it's like someone the other day wrote me and they were trying to automate something in Zoom. And I'm like, well, you know, I have a tool to help launch meetings and that. But he wanted to be able to click the share screen, click advanced, click the video, this, that. And I'm like, whoo, yeah, that's, you know, that's not simple, unfortunately.
Have an API? It doesn't, does it?
Not for, they do have an API, and I use it for pulling the people that are signing up for the meetings and stuff.
Pull information. But, yeah. Right.
But they don't have it for controlling, at least that I'm aware of, controlling the actual what's going on. That would be amazing. You know, and it's one of the things I hate about the term API is they have a web service API for connecting to, you know, the thing and doing stuff. They don't have an programmatic API for controlling their tool, right? They have limited stuff you can do with the command line, which is what I'm doing when I hit I have a hotkey that I can launch my Zoom meeting and activates the my video. And I have a different one that launches this meeting for me. So I don't have to remember to switch. I put it into QAP and I can go and click it and it just automatically. So if you're in a lot of different Zoom meetings, I have icons and stuff. I don't have to try to remember what meeting's what. It just simplifies it. But yeah, I wish there was a way. And the problem is like the ACC library doesn't peek inside Zoom. There's no controls, you know, the UI automation approach does, but with AutoHotkey, we don't have a great way for automating that at the moment. And someone wrote me on that and said, can you do a tutorial? And I'm like,
you're better off going with, not AutoHotkeys, but is it Power Toys or no, not Power Toys. It's the
PowerShell.
Power Automation.
Okay, yeah.
Power Automation. I use UI interface with. That one probably be pretty cool to play with. One thing I did is I know when I had Zoom at home. Well, I have it at home still, but
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Work. One thing I was doing was there are hotkeys like that you can push like control whatever and it does stuff. but I can never remember all of them, especially the ones I wasn't using here and there. So I actually used AutoHotkeys to create a GUI that just stuck to the top of my screen, and it just said like mute all. There's a button for mute all, a button for mute all start meeting, and I would just click it, and it would just auto send the hotkeys that were built already into Zoom. That was just a way for me to better remember like what hotkeys existed versus me have to remember, okay, it's Q and control.
You mean it's better than this? My little.
You could do that too.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm like F6 toggles between, and like you're saying, I could never. It's the only one that I really need, so I just did this. But I love that idea of, hey, if Zoom's active, have it automatically pop up and have a little thing of like, here's your hotkeys.
And that's what I did. And if it wasn't active, it just did like a GUI hide or a
cool.
Yeah, and that helped a lot. You know, just that's with a lot of programs, not just Zoom. You know that. You know, even like something like Photoshop. There's so many hotkeys, like it's so hard to remember them. Just have a thing like if Photoshop, you know, is active, display this GUI at the very like at 00 coordinates going across my screen with just buttons, and don't even display the hotkey, just display what the name of what it does. And that was something that like I used a lot for Zoom. I've never used it anywhere else, but I could see a lot of people enjoying it in a lot of places.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you were remapping keys, and that way I'm like, well, what hotkey do I want to do this? And then just use AutoHotkey to say, when I hit that, go map it to what it is in Zoom, right? So then it's easier, because that's what I love about AutoHotkey, right? Is you can personalize it for me.
Yeah. So you can make F1 versus F9 or like, you know, 2 button presses or 3 sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. But and then you can chain them too, you know, if you want to press F1 and then have it auto start a meeting and then auto mute everybody and then like auto change your background at the same time or something. You know, you'd have it do 3 steps for you all at once or something, depending on what hotkeys are available. I'm not really sure.
Well, and that's getting back to is if they don't have a hotkey assigned to it, unfortunately in Zoom, and I'm not sure what it's written in, but it's not conducive for AutoHotkey for automation. But that still doesn't mean you can't do things, you know. Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Thanks for showing up, and thank you everybody for making it here today. Hope you have a great Christmas and happy holidays. Hack YouTube to get more views, please. Feelings so sad.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I wish more people you know, wanted to save time and learn how to, you know, automate stuff, but it's sad. But yeah,
I was doing a survey, or I'm still doing a survey if anybody's interested in taking it for AutoHotkeys. It's just a simple thing I was curious about. And the one thing I put on there was like, how did you learn about AutoHotkeys? So one of the options was friends, like from a friend or family member. That got 0 so far. And I'm like, you guys need to tell your friends about this.
you know,
the word.
Yeah.
90% of the votes were from, you know, oh, I just learned it because I was Googling how to automate something.
I had a problem. Yeah,
and
they had a problem.
Like, oh, I learned it at work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, friends, tell your friends.
It's funny because I my experience, I've taught, you know, let me rephrase that. I've had introduction meetings where, you know, especially at work, I'll say, hey, do you have a few minutes? Let's plan an hour where I'll show you some of the stuff. And I show them, and my friend and I always say it's a great thanks, bye. They like, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. Oh, I'm so going to learn this. And then they never touch it, you know, and it's just like, it takes a very specific person mindset, you know, of, you know, and interest to get them to actually start using it. So I kind of gave up getting the random person, you know, saying, well, let me spend some time, let me show you. And now when people ask me, I do it, but I don't just pick people at random, you know, like say, hey, I think you could really use this. And you know, I might give them a script, don't get me wrong, but it's not teaching them how to code. Anyway, well, thanks everyone. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all that.